Hey guys, I'm Lee Taylor. That's the 2021 Hyundai Ioniq electric, and this is a Right Lane review. Here, now in 2020, we're on the cusp of a massive shift. Forget about COVID-19 and some other weird things happening in the world. I'm talking about the car. The way cars are made is going to change. Alternative fuels, different drivetrains, all of that shifting. In the next 5 years, what we consider to be a normal car is going to be completely different than what you look at right now. And some people think that this is going to whack us in the face like a Jetson-shaped brick. But in case you weren't paying super close attention, the future's already here. So the car behind me has 4 doors, a usable boot, plenty of space on the inside, all the creature comforts you would ever want, and it's less than $60,000. If you didn't know better and you didn't see the badges, you would probably not suspect anything out of this car. It'd be a normal hatchback, it feels perfectly normal. Everything would be well in the world. Until the point I said the magic words. It's electric. And that's a really good thing because at the end of the day, this is a really good car. Now, this is not a performance car. It doesn't pretend to be a performance car, but it feels incredibly confident. And a lot of that is the tuning, the chassis tuning. It feels very planted. You can tell the weight's nice and low. The tires kind of let it down because they're efficiency tires, so they're not super grippy. But all those things are perfectly fine because it doesn't feel like a tin can getting blown around in the wind, and it's not so light in the hands that it doesn't feel like it's doing what you want it to do. Yes, I would like more communication in the steering. Yes, I would like the chassis to be more dynamic. But again, this is designed to be an efficiency machine, not a machine to go around a racetrack. And honestly, it feels great. It feels confident, it's poised, it's quiet, it's not too jittery. It flows over the bumps perfectly fine. And you can really tell Hyundai has spent time in Australia, on Australian roads, to make this car feel at home in this environment. And it's really well done. There's this really cool sensation of smooth, butter-like application of power. You're going along and you're not really thinking about how fast you're going if you don't have the speed limiter or the smart cruise on, and you don't realize that you're doing 70, 80 k's an hour on a surface road, which is a little bit alarming at first. The steering wheel, which I really loved at the beginning of the week, I still like the feel of it. I still like how the steering weights up really nicely. It feels good, it feels solid. What I don't end up liking was the flat bottom steering wheel. This isn't an i30N, this isn't even a sporty vehicle, so why we have a flat bottom steering wheel? Haven't quite figured that out. And in everyday life, no one really wants a flat bottom anyway. But overall, the driving experience in this car is really tranquil. Like, it's really nice to drive. It's very quiet, it feels fairly refined. There's not an overabundance of noise in the cabin. You do have your 3 driving modes. So you have normal, which is a pretty standard run-of-the-mill hatchback mode, if you will. You have a sport mode, which allows all 238 Newton meters of torque to come out of this electric motor. So the software changes up and the steering gets a little bit heavier. And you have Eco and Eco Plus, and they're designed to coach you into having a little bit more economical experience. They smooth out the power application so it doesn't deplete the battery as quickly. And Eco Plus will actually limit the car's speed to 90 k's an hour, as well as turn off the climate control. From a dead standstill, the software calibration does have that little bit of delay, so it doesn't shoot off the line like a Tesla or even some combustion cars would. If you're just cruising along at 40, 50 k's an hour and you put your foot down, all of a sudden you get all the power. So we're in normal mode now, and I'm gonna kick it. And we're off. The torque surge is everything in this car. In the next 5 to 10 years, electric cars are going to be the norm. The now. They're going to be it. What you see every single day. And they're going to do everything your Monster 3 does. And some things will even do a little bit better. So actually, you don't have to take my word for it, because I found 3 people who had never driven an electric car before, and I put them in the driver's seat. And I was really curious as to what sort of preconceived notions or ideas people had about what an electric car would feel like, what an electric car would be, what their expectations were, and if the Ioniq actually surprised them or not. This is Hazel, Roland, and Brendan. These 3 Aussies have never driven an electric car before. When someone says electric car, what comes to mind? What would you expect of an electric car, I should say?
What do I expect? I thought when you say electric car, I was like, Tesla.
Powerful and fast. That's probably due to Tesla.
Expensive and something that I wouldn't consider normally buying.
Smooth, very quiet.
Got a little bit of test performance in front of that truck. So. Yeah.
Typical Melburnian. I'm at the lights, I read the lights, and as soon as it goes green, I'm like this.
Well, I'll wait for this car, because that would be awkward. Just please don't hit me. Excuse me. Yeah, it's quite smooth, it's good. Like it just brakes pretty well. But yeah, it's going to take a bit of getting used to that regen thing.
If I was to tell you this is what every car is going to be like in 5 to 10 years, what would your reaction be?
I would think that's awesome.
We need to all kind of like at least have the experience of it so we know what it is like driving and not have the hang-ups.
I'm actually impressed.
Because I think definitely, I did have this idea that, oh, it's just going to be like a toy car. But it feels a lot more grounded, a lot more weighty and responsive in certain ways.
Now, it's pretty interesting to me that when people started driving this car, they realized how much of a normal hatchback it actually was. It's not so ridiculous that it was this weird machine and sort of a novelty, if you will. It's an actually usable, solid machine. Let's talk about the interior of this Ioniq a little bit. It's very typical Hyundai, so everything looks really nice. It's styled really well. Material choices aren't my favorite. Some of them feel a bit cheap and too plasticky for me, but overall, they're pretty good. The steering wheel feels really nice in the hands. It's the right size and grip. The only thing I don't understand is why it's a flat bottom. You have paddles here for your regenerative braking, and you have your nice big driver's display directly in front that gives you most of the information you need. They've used about 25% recycled materials in producing this car, which I think is a pretty good step towards sustainability. The seats are okay. They're not my favorite seats. I wish they were a little bit more supportive. They're a bit stiff for me, but pretty small for them, to be honest. So I do want to talk a little bit about the technology here in the Hyundai Ioniq. Now, it does come standard with Hyundai safety system, which includes blind spot monitors, lane departure warning, driver attention warnings, self-centering, smart cruise that also has a stop and go function, as well as a host of other general safety features, AEB, that sort of thing. You also get this beautiful 10-inch screen out front, which includes Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, and it's fitted with an Infinity sound system. So with this base model, you get rear parking sensors and a rear view camera. And that's all good and dandy, but for $55,000, it doesn't have any front parking sensors, which I think is a little bit of a miss. But overall, the tech in here is really, really good. In the back of the Ioniq, it's actually pretty comfortable. I'm 6 foot and I have plenty of room. So my toes are tucked underneath the seat in front of me, and I have plenty of space for my knees, and this seat is set to my driving position. Headroom, not bad either. Plenty of space up top. Now, if this had the optional sunroof, that might intrude a little bit, but on this Elite model, it's perfectly fine. And actually, it feels pretty good. I could spend a few hours back here. In the middle here, we also have cup holders as well as an armrest. So if you have 2 passengers, this is perfectly fine. I wouldn't carry more than 2 for long journeys. 3 would probably be comfortable on a short trip around town. So out back, the Ioniq actually has a pretty good sized boot. Nice big openings so you can get things in and out. Now, the only thing that's a bit weird about this particular bit is that I have the charging box for the cables from home. This won't actually be here in a real world environment, but you do have plenty of space for most anything else you need. And the floor isn't quite as deep as I'd like, but the batteries are there, so that makes a bit of a difference. But there is some underfloor storage for cables or whatever else you can fit in here. Not really a whole lot. And this slides back in place. And really, if this is a daily driver, as long as you're not carrying around anything too heavy like a lawnmower, you should be fine. Of charging with this car? Well, it was actually really, really easy. So initially we got about 250 Ks out of the original charge given to us when we picked the car up on Monday. And by the weekend, come Saturday, we had about 10% charge left, or just under 50 Ks. Plugged the car in at a DC fast charger, supplied by ChargeFox, and within an hour we had 80% charge. The ability to run out to dinner or lunch or brunch on a Saturday morning and plug the car in to get an hour's worth of charge that would probably last me a week of commuting is pretty realistic. So what are our tops, bottoms, and final verdict for the 2021 Hyundai Ioniq Electric? On the bottom are some things that we've kind of come to expect from EVs. You have a premium price tag, and infrastructure in Australia is still a bit lacking. And on this Elite model for $55,000, you don't get things like front park sensors, or leather seats, or a sunroof. You have to go up to the more expensive model. Interior quality isn't my favorite. The materials feel a bit grabby in some places and they're kind of cheapish. The touch points are good, but the dash just doesn't feel as good as it looks. On top, there's some really cool stuff. So you have a car that gives you an almost zen, tranquil, perfectly quiet driving experience, and a chassis that feels really, really confident and competent. You can tell Hyundai's taken the time to make this car feel at home on the Australian roads. With that, you also get Hyundai's 5 years unlimited kilometer warranty and 8 years of warranty on the battery itself. So, our final verdict on the Hyundai Ioniq. Electric is here. This is the future. And if you got the means, buy the future now.